Hey guys, the MMA Jew here. Let's talk about last week. So we went 4 for 6 on locks. Wasn't great. We lost the money. No bet hit. I cashed out on a tennis parlay that I had, so I still made money for the weekend. But I need to make you guys your money back. So let's get to this week's picks. Also, wait, before we do that, just want to say last week I did have Waldo winning. So there's an argument there to say that 2 out of 3 dogs won. Josh Van did great. That might have been my favorite fight, like, ever. Not kidding. I said that after I saw the fight live. It was just so much fun. It's just back and forth. You saw the grappling technique from both. You saw the striking from both. The durability, just the pace. It was just so high level. The smaller guys need more technique, and it really showed. So the other thing that was really annoying was Jim Miller's guillotine. I mean, I'm happy for Jim Miller. You know, old guy. I didn't know about his son beating cancer, so, fuck my bets. That's far more important. And with Sean Strickland too beating Khamzat, I'm happy. I could have cashed out on both bets that I had. I cashed out on one before the Khamzat fight, and I made 1,300, and I could have made 2,600, and it was stupid. I should have done it. I wanted to cheer for Sean all the way. So, not going to make that mistake again. Not going to make the mistake of doing cycle parlays, and I'm going to bet the way I normally do going forward. So, let's get to this week. First up, we have Shauna Bannon against Nicolle Caliari as the opening fight on UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Costa. So Caliari is the grappler here, but she still can, close the distance and throw some, dirty shots. Shauna Bannon is just not great, but neither is Nicolle. Don't put your money on this fight. I'm just giving you my pick. I think if Shauna can stay on the feet, which is very possible, she will probably be able to stay at a distance and land her sneaky karate kicks to the body, maybe even up top to the face. She has gotten a submission of her own. Let's take a look here. So, in Shauna's last fight, she got submitted by Sam Hughes, who's a good fighter. She's great. I just think that this level of fighting is far, far below Sam Hughes. In her fight before that, she actually managed to get a submission win against Pooja Tomar, who's not great. And Tomar was actually piecing her up on the feet. And then, I believe, knocked Shauna down. And Shauna from full guard threw up an armbar and got it. She beat Ardelean, which is kind of crazy because I have Ardelean as a pick later in the card. And she lost to Bruno Brazil. So her 2 losses are actually quite high-level fighters, but it's kind of the same case for Nicolle Caliari. Karakate is not great. That's her second last loss, and in her last loss against Carly Judice dominated her, but Carly Judice is really good. I actually might rate her higher than Hughes and Brazil. So it's tough to say here what's going to happen. There's honestly, Shauna Bannon's not a horrible pick. At plus 210, that's crazy. I think this is like a coin flip. So I am going with Nicolle Caliari to get the takedown and hold her there. I just think it's a bad matchup for Shauna. And she just has the physical presence. Like, Caliari's in much better shape than Bannon. She is smaller, but I still think she gets it done here. So give me Caliari at minus 258. Next up, we have Daniel Barez versus Luis Gurule. So Daniel Barez is a good fighter. He comes out strong. He's much faster, his hands at least. But he typically tires after the first round. Not to say that he gasses out completely, but he slows down big time. And Gurule keeps the pace. He's not great, but he keeps the pace. He had his start on Dana White's Contender Series against Nick Piccinini, something like that. It's a big wrestling prospect. And Luis Gurule was a big underdog in that fight, and he got it done pretty easily. And it was a great fight. He's 10-3, Barez is 17-7. I think what Barez is going to try to do is strike with Gurule on the feet, and Gurule is going to hunt for the takedown. And I think Gurule gets it in the second and third at the very least, though I also don't think this is like a confident pick at all. They're similar size, and for going on striking numbers, I mean, you got to lean Louis Gurule, given that the biggest downside is he has 9% lower striking accuracy, but he's going to be going for the takedowns anyway. And yes, I see that he lands less takedowns, but typically his game plan is to strike. However, I think here it will be to go for the takedowns just to secure the win, because he's lost a few in a row, and in his last fight he wasn't able to secure a takedown, got knocked out. Sorry, that was actually 3 fights ago. What am I saying? In his last fight, he lost a decision against Alden Correa, who is a great fighter. Before that, Jesus Aguilar, who was just destroying him with the leg kicks. If Barez can keep his cardio up and throw those leg kicks, see, this is such a coin flip fight. Like, I have Gurule as my pick at minus 142, but like, Barez is not a bad pick at all. I'm sticking with Gurule. I just think he's a smarter fighter. Barez trains with Joel Alvarez, who just got submitted last week, Yaroslav Amasov. I believe Luis Gurule trains with like Brandon Royval and those guys. It's so hard to say, guys. I'm still going with Gurule. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Alice Ardelean versus Polyana Viana. I will say Polyana Viana is in a very small group of UFC fighters who are female and have been finished by Alex Pereira. She's an awful fighter. She really is. She's never impressed me. She has like gone on a run with a few submissions and even I think got a lucky KO in her fight against Jinu Frey. Yeah. And it's just you can't trust her at all. I mean, you can't really trust either of these girls, but like I said, Viana has never impressed me, and Alice Ardelean actually has, and it's because of her volume. Look at how many significant strikes landed per minute she's at, 7.35. That's like incredible for across all MMA, and the fact that it's like she is clearly a wild fighter, but her defense is 62%. That's impressive for throwing that volume. That impresses me. So I have to go with her. I don't think it matters that she has an OnlyFans. She pretty much doesn't even use it for like what you think she does. It's just like extra content. I think I got to go Alice Ardelean. Give me her at minus 205. Debating making her a lock. Let's move on to the next fight. Cody Brundage versus Andre Petroski. So both not good. This card's not good. I don't like this card to watch. I don't like, I mean, I guess I like them all watching it, but I don't like it for betting at all. And the funny thing is that I think if both of these fighters were to fight at like their absolute best, Cody Brundage gets it done. But we cannot rely on that. He shows flashes of high-level fighting, but he is never consistent. And typically, if he doesn't finish it in the first round, he loses the fight. But I don't know why. I just have this weird gut feeling, and maybe we can't trust that right now. But at plus 180, man, I think I could like switch on any one of these fights. I just think I have to go with Cody Brundage because I think Petroski, he's not as good as a fighter on the feet. He's going to be hesitant because he's coming off of 2 knockout losses. I think he like has better pace and like is a more gritty fighter. But Brundage has been keeping his hands up very well recently. He's getting takedowns, which he could against Andre Petroski. I think Brundage has the better wrestling, so he'd be able to defend the takedowns, the very least you'd think. But if he does get hit once, he's rushing in for a desperate double leg and getting subbed. I'm going with Cody Brundage, plus 180, underdog. On to the next. We have Jacqueline Cavalcanti versus Ketlen Vieira. Cavalcanti is really good. She's 10-1, professional MMA career, and she's undefeated in the UFC so far. I think the thing is with Ketlen Vieira, she's a very imposing fighter in this weight class. Like, just she's good at getting girls to the ground and holding them there, but she's never very consistent in doing so. I think Cavalcanti, the one thing she has here in this fight is obviously the striking advantage, but she's big, and she's a big girl, like, as well, and she's got 2 inches reach advantage, much younger, and her striking numbers are much, much better. So I think it's an easy win here. She's been defending the takedowns when she needs to in her fights, although she did give up one, I think, against Cornole and Avila, but she defended 90% of them in both fights. And then Bueno Silva defended all 4. Against Bueno Silva, she defended all 4 of Bueno Silva's attempts. So I think she keeps standing and dominates on the feet. That's why she's one of my locks. Yes, Ketlen Vieira got Dumont down twice, but and that's like the highest level fighter I think she's fought in the last 5, and she still lost. So, although it was really close. Give me Jacqueline Cavalcanti minus 162. Also, sorry guys, I'm losing my voice a bit. It's late. Busy week at work, so just getting this done in the night. Apologize for the lighting as well. Up next, we got Tommy Gantt against Artur Minev. So Tommy Gantt was initially supposed to fight Trey Ogden in this fight, which would have been really interesting. Trey Ogden's got good wrestling defense, but I think Gantt is one of those wrestling prospects who's actually not afraid to strike and who's good on the feet as well. He's coached by Daniel Cormier. I don't know if it's full-time that Cormier does that, but Cormier has some good things to say about this guy's striking on top of his wrestling. He's an NCAA Division I All-American wrestler, so Tommy Gantt is dangerous, undefeated in his career so far. He's lanky, and that's also rare for these high-level wrestlers. And, don't go by his stats on his one fight, but he has 100% striking accuracy and 10 takedowns per average 15-minute fight. But that's not important here. Artur Minev is coming in on short notice. He's not a bum at all. He's really good, actually, for a prospect. But he's, for a short notice debut against a guy like Tommy Gantt, I don't think that's a good spot to be in. He trains with Yaroslav Amosov, who I just mentioned earlier, got the submission against Daniel Barez's training partner, Joel Alvarez. And I don't think, Artur Minev would be trying to land the shot, the big shot, his hook, his left hook, I believe it is crazy. He's got a lot of power in it, and he could knock anyone out probably. But I think Gantt's a smart enough fighter to stay away from this. It's too bad he doesn't have a long training camp fighting against Artur Minev, but it might also work in his benefit too. Maybe Minev will gas, you never know. He's got a lot of muscle on him, so he'll require more oxygen. Tommy Gantt, easy pick, minus 205. I think he can out-wrestle and out-strike Artur, but he's got to be careful. And I think this could go to decisions. Could be good value there, but give me Tommy Gantt minus 205. Then up next, we got Tuco Tokkos versus Ivan Erslan. So Ivan Erslan, he's actually shown pretty damn good takedown defense, despite losing his last 3 fights against Ion Cutelaba and Jimmy Crute. I think he defended most of the takedowns in both fights, and he lands the bigger shots. He even was out striking Navajo Sterling, arguably, in the first round of their fight, which is super impressive. He's just the bigger guy here. Tuco Tokkos trains with Kamzat and Roma Delice, and I think, is it Brendan Allen? I don't know, a random group of guys who seem to have been going together lately, and Baisengar Susakaev. I don't even know where they're training, but I know they train together. Tokkos is bigger, he's taller slightly, but Ivan Erslan, if you just see the size of his hands, they're massive. I know he's smaller in reach too, but he's got much, much, much bigger shots. I think he knocks out Tuco Tokkos, to be honest. The thing is against a guy like Jimmy Crute's super strong and shoots very powerful takedowns, and he keeps them coming because like that's like I think he's a little uncomfortable on the feet. Tokkos doesn't spam takedown after takedown, and he also doesn't have that takedown power that True does. So I think as long as Erslan defends like the first few takedowns, and it might only come one at a time, then he definitely wins the fight, and I think he could get a KO here as well. But if it gets out of the first round, it could get dicey. Tokkos could win second and third, or even finish it by submission. This pick, like, oh my God, there's so many picks on this, or fights on this card that just sketch me out, picking wise. But give me Ivan. Next up, we got Nikolay. Also just want to say, it's worth noting, Ivan Erslan, that fight against Ion Kucheleba, I think Ivan Erslan won. I don't know how. Like, here, let's check it out really quick. So, this is the wrong fight. Here we are. Okay, so first round, significant strikes. I know this doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, but I also watched the fight, and that's also how I felt when watching it. So first round, Ivan Erslan outlands Kucheleba in significant strikes and defends all three of Kucheleba's takedowns. And then in the second round, Ivan Kucheleba does get 2 out of 5 takedowns, but only a minute of control, and he for sure lands more significant strikes. So you have to give that round to Ion. Yeah, I remember that being the case. And then round 3, I think Erslan takes this last round. He landed less significant strikes, but more strikes, right? And he also got a takedown, defended 3 out of 4 of Ion's, and got nearly 4 minutes control time. Like, I don't know how you give that to Ion. Unless I'm, like, not... Like, I really remember thinking he won the fight. I don't think he got rocked or dropped. Yeah, you can even see one fighter gave it to him. So, I mean, someone agrees with me. But can't really trust their opinions. So, let's all go on to the next fight. We have Nikolay Veretennikov versus Khaos Williams. You guys may be sussed out with my pick here. It's even odds, but I think Khaos Williams gets it done. Khaos Williams knocks out most of the people that are willing to strike with him. You see Carlson Harris, took him a while to go for the takedown. He did not KO Rolando Bedoya, so that's worth noting. And in his loss against Randy Brown, it's a split decision. He knocked down Randy Brown. I know he lost his last 2, but that gives him, more pressure to perform here because he's probably worried he's going to get cut, so he might go for that knockout. Yes, looking back, Miguel Beza and Alex Moreno, Abdul Hazak, they're not like the most impressive knockouts, but it still shows how much power he has. Like, look how early in the fight it happens. If he lands that shot against anyone, I think they're done, and Veretennikov will strike with him. He's not going to go for a takedown, though if he does, he might get the win. Like, Veretennikov has 2 takedowns against Francisco Prado. That's pretty impressive. Only 2 minutes control. And none in the round. He got both of his takedowns in. Okay, I'm still sticking with Khaos Williams. I think he's the cleaner striker, like more technical. The Veretennikov volume and pressure scares me, but I think that might actually lend to Khaos because if Veretnikov's closing the distance, Khaos can land that shot. So give me Khaos Williams minus 118. Up next, we have Timothy Kawamba versus Bernardo Sopaj. I actually picked Timothy Kawamba on my Instagram. I'm switching over to Bernardo Sopaj. I've watched more tape on him because I was doubting the pick. Obviously, I mean, it is an underdog pick that I had, Timmy. I had him at plus 130, but Bernardo is the more well-rounded fighter. Kawamba is, normally a featherweight, and he's coming down. And Bernardo Sopaj looked great in his first round against Vinicius Oliveira, I believe. And he came in on short notice, so there's a reason he gassed out and lost the fight. And then it was interesting how he fought the first round against... let me bring this over to that. I'm just talking. Here we are. I actually just want to go over into his profile. So it's interesting how he lost the first round against Ricky Tercios. Like, look at the strike differential. He may have landed the bigger shots, so that's probably why these two judges both gave it 30-27. But it was just, I don't know, it's kind of scary to see Ricky get that many strikes against you. And the same kind of happened in the next round, but Sopaj was landing the bigger strikes. And then in the last round, of course, he got the knockdown, nearly finished him, but it went to decision. And I think what scares me is how long or how little control he had over Ricky Tercios. Like, you can see here, like, that's pretty crazy. Like, only 48 seconds first round. Didn't go for a takedown, so that's fair, but then 15 seconds after getting one takedown out of two in the second round, and only a minute and 27 in the third. Yeah, I think the thing is with Timmy Kwamba is he looked really good in his last two fights, getting the knockout against Roberto Romero, and then beating Chang Ho Lee. Timothy Kwamba, though he got dominated in the first round of wrestling, he started to defend the takedowns in the second and land big shots, and got a takedown in his own right. And then in the third round, he pretty much was on Chang Ho Lee's back for the entire round. So I think Timmy Kwamba is underrated here, and you know what? I might stick with Timmy Kwamba. It's not just the stats. It's me thinking while I'm talking. I think Kwamba will be able to stand up if Bernardo Sopaj isn't holding down Ricky Tercios. I don't think he's holding down Timothy Kwamba. And I think Timothy Kwamba will throw more in this fight. No, I don't know that, because Bernardo will probably throw more. My God. Give me Bernardo. Minus 155. Sorry. I got it. And then in the next fight, I am scared. I have Modestas Bukauskas to win against Christian Edwards, but I am worried here. There's a real argument for Christian Edwards, but I think I got to go with Modestas Bukauskas. He's got a full training camp. Originally supposed to face Adolfo Vieira. I think he's got decent takedown defense. Modestas Bukauskas, he's 79%. Christian Edwards is a better wrestler than guys that he's been able to beat who have a wrestling base, like Kucheleba, Cirquiera. I think in Craig, we can't really call it a wrestling background. It's more just jiu-jitsu. Christian Edwards is a big underdog. He's plus 270. He's coming in on short notice. And I think Modestas is going to have the confidence that he needs to get the win, because this guy is 8-4, and it's his debut. Christian Edwards, I mean. So, Modestas Bukauskas minus 340. I think he's going to be able to defend most of the shots and survive at the very least in the first round. And because Christian Edwards is on short notice, I think he won't be able to land the takedowns in second and third. He's a very big guy, so you got to imagine, though he has gone 5 rounds in his amateur career and had great cardio. I'm going with Modestas. I'm going to have to watch more tape and might change my pick, but I think I'm going to stick with Modestas. Minus 340. Then up next, we have Malcolm Wellmaker versus Juan Diaz. So, Malcolm Wellmaker, he's coming off of the loss against Ethan Ewing, and Ethan Ewing, he's really good. We had no idea who he was in his last fight, in his debut against Malcolm, but he looked so good. And then to take Malcolm's beat a 10-0 defeated guy, and then go on to beat another undefeated fighter in Rafael Estevam is very impressive. So you can't really take much away from Malcolm Wellmaker. I think he might have taken a lot away from that last fight. he probably improved a lot. He seems to have taken it seriously. He's converted to Islam. I don't know if that'll help. But still, at least he's trying, right? And Juan Diaz is a great fighter too, but he looked so much better in his last fight than he has in all previous fights, and that's probably because of like the Dana White's Contender Series. You need to get a finish. I think Juan Diaz UFC debut, he might be a little more careful, and that might cost him. If he's not running forward at Wellmaker, I don't think he gets the win. And even if he does run forward at Wellmaker, I think Wellmaker lands that shot. I think we're going to see a much improved Malcolm Wellmaker. And I think minus 278 is great odds. It's scary because Juan Diaz is 15-1-1. But Wellmaker's 10-1, and I think his loss is much better competition than all of the guys that Juan Diaz has fought this far. So give me Malcolm Wellmaker minus 278. He just needs to stay away from that spinning elbow that Juan Diaz landed in his last fight on Dana White's Contender Series. The striking numbers are fairly similar, but we have to remember that Malcolm Wellmaker has a larger sample size across 4 fights in the UFC, whereas Juan Diaz only has 1, and that's Dana White's Contender Series. So you have to imagine that Malcolm, on paper, is the better striker. Malcolm Wellmaker minus 278. Then we have, in the co-main event, I think Doo Ho Choi gets this done. He's at plus 136, and these guys are both going to scrap. The thing is with Doo Ho Choi is that both of these guys have gotten a lot of KOs in their last few matchups. And Daniel Santos has been up against 3, I believe, 2 South Koreans in a row, and is looking to beat the third. But I think the Korean Superboy is going to defend his people here. He's got incredible striking numbers, and so does Daniel Santos. But look at the striking accuracy and defense compared to Santos. And less strikes absorbed, similar strikes landed, and similar sample size. I think that what the thing is here is Doo Ho Choi. If you look back at his fights before his mandatory military service in South Korea, his numbers were much worse. And then in his last 2 fights, his significant strikes landed per minute has increased significantly, and his takedown average has increased significantly. I think he's a much better fighter all around than Daniel Santos. And I honestly don't know how Santos is the favorite here. So give me Doo Ho Choi plus 136. Then in the main event, we have Arnold Allen versus Melky Costa. So thing is here is Melky Costa is really good. In his last 6 fights, he's gotten 2 subs, 2 KOs, and 2 decision wins against good competition. You got Dan Ige, Julian Rosso, Morgan Charrier, Christian Rodriguez, Andre Fili. These are good fighters, and he's finishing them too. So this one's really tough to pick. The thing is that Melky Costa in a 5-round fight is something we haven't seen before, and he kind of tires out in that 3rd round. If you look at his fight against Julian Rosa and his fight against Christian Edwards, he lost the 3rd round in both, in my opinion at least. And I think on all 3 scorecards against the fight against Rodriguez. I think what happens here is, and I had Costa to start with before I put my picks in, and as you can see, I'm still a little hesitant, but Costa is probably going to win rounds 1 and 2. I think Arnold is very durable, has much better cardio, and I think he wins the 3rd, and if not, finishes the fight in 4th or 5th. But I'm still, there's an argument that Costa can squeak out the 3rd just because he's now training for a 5-round fight. And if he does that, I think I'm switching up my pick. I know I'm all over the place, guys. This card is so awful for picks and betting. I'm going Melquizael Costa because he is going to be training for a 5-round fight. I don't think he's going to change the way he fights. I think he's going to hunt for the knockout. But I think he'll have better cardio and squeak out the third. And then he is durable after that. And, like, Arnold Allen isn't the biggest finisher, and he'll be doing it in the 4th and 5th after potentially getting battered. So, like, so tough. Because Arnold Allen has been in this type of situation before. He did squeak it out against Sadiq Youssef. But that's the problem. It's just he landed the knockout there. I don't think he's or the knockdown there. I don't think he's going to against Melky Costa, and he gets outstruck in most of his fights. No, I'm staying on Arnold Allen. Give me Arnold Allen minus 142. I think this is just one of his. This is his fight to take. You know, the guys he loses to, Max Holloway, Movsar Evloev, Gene Silva, like, you can't really say much. And there's an argument that he won the Evloev fight. A small one, but there is one. And if he had that fight again, I do think he could do a lot better. I don't think he beats Gene Silva in a rematch. But I think he can get it done against Costa here, especially in a 5-round fight. You have to think he's going to squeak out one round in the first 3, and he's going to win 4 and 5. Give me Arnold Allen. Minus 142. All right, shalom.